Imagine this: 4 bright college students, brutally murdered in their own home, while 2 others slept just steps away. No forced entry. No sound of a struggle, loud enough to wake the neighborhood. Just silence and then horror. This is not a horror movie. This is the real-life nightmare that shook a small town in Idaho, and the entire nation watched in disbelief. Before we dive into this chilling story, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the darkest true crime cases. November 12th, 2022, Moscow, Idaho. A small college town surrounded by rolling hills and farmland. The University of Idaho sat at its heart, a close-knit campus where students filled coffee shops, tailgate football games, and walked the streets with the kind of security that comes from believing it could never happen here. That Saturday night, 6 students shared a rented 3-story house just off campus. On the top floor, best friends since childhood, Madison Mogan and Kaylee Goncalves. Down a floor, Xana Kernadle, who lived there full-time, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, who was staying over after a fraternity party. And on the ground floor, 2 other roommates, Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen. The evening unfolded like countless others in college towns across America. Kaylee and Madison spent the night at a downtown bar. Ethan and Xana attended a party at Sigma Chi, just a short walk away. Dylan and Bethany were home early, tucked away on the first floor. By 1:45 a.m., Kaylee and Madison had ordered food from a food truck, laughing and smiling in surveillance footage that would later become haunting. Around the same time, Ethan and Xana returned home. By 2 a.m., everyone was back at the house. The lights went out. Silence fell. The house, nestled in the shadows of King Road, drifted into sleep. No one inside could have imagined the terror that was about to unfold. Sometime between 4 o'clock and 4:20 a.m., a figure approached the sliding glass door on the second floor. He was dressed in black, wearing gloves, and carrying a knife with a military-style sheath. That man was Bryan Kohberger. Inside, he moved like a shadow. Investigators believe he first encountered Madison and Kaylee on the 3rd floor. Madison's injuries suggested she fought, perhaps waking Kaylee, who was killed alongside her best friend. Xana and Ethan were next. Evidence suggests Ethan was attacked as he slept, while Xana fought desperately for her life. She had defensive wounds, bruises and cuts across her arms, and over 50 stab wounds. The brutality was unimaginable, and yet, in under 13 minutes, it was over. 4 young lives gone. 2 others, asleep on the 1st floor, were left unharmed. But there was one more witness. Dylan Mortensen, in her room on the 2nd floor, later told police she heard noises, footsteps crying, and a man's chilling words, "I'm going to help you." When she peeked out her room, she saw a tall, masked figure dressed in black walking silently past her and out to the sliding door. Frozen with fear, she locked herself inside. It would be hours before she or anyone else called for help. Asterisk. By noon on November 13th, police were called to the King Road residence. What they found was unlike anything Moscow's small police department had ever encountered. 4 students brutally murdered. Blood seeped through the walls, visible even from the outside of the house. The town spiraled into fear. Rumors spread across campus. Was this a targeted attack? Was a serial killer on the loose? Parents rushed to pull their children out of the university. And yet, investigators said little. They had evidence, but no suspect. Asterisk. For weeks, the case seemed stalled. But behind the scenes, investigators were piecing together fragments. The first major clue was at white Hyundai Elantra. Surveillance footage placed it circling the neighborhood multiple times on the night of the murders. Police issued a national alert, asking for help locating the car. The second clue was far more damning. The knife she found near Madison's body. On it, DNA. Male DNA. It didn't match anyone in the system. But when police quietly collected trash outside Bryan Kohberger's parents' home in Pennsylvania, they got a match. The DNA on the sheath came from him. Then came the phone data. Kohberger's cell phone had been mysteriously turned off during the murders. But in the months prior, it had pinged cell towers near the victim's house at least 12 separate times, suggesting surveillance. And on the morning after the murders, his phone showed unusual movements, driving miles out into rural Idaho, as if discarding something. When the name Bryan Kohberger was revealed, shock rippled through both Moscow and Pullman, Washington, where he was a criminology Ph.D. student. He wasn't an outsider. He wasn't a drifter. He was someone who studied criminals, who sat in classrooms discussing crime scenes, forensic patterns, and the psychology of killers. Professors described him as brilliant, but awkward. Fellow students recalled his arrogance, his strange stare, and his tendency to dominate conversations. He had even conducted online surveys asking ex-cons about their thoughts during crimes, what emotions they felt, how they chose their victims, and what they did to avoid capture. Now those questions seemed chillingly personal. Police began surveillance. They watched him clean his car obsessively. They saw him wearing gloves to take out his trash. They noted how his weight dropped, how he appeared nervous, agitated. By December 30th, they had enough. SWAT stormed his parents' home in Pennsylvania, arresting him in the middle of the night. The arrest brought relief, but also raised more questions. Why had he done it? Did he know the victims? Was it revenge, obsession, or thrill-seeking? Families of the victims spoke publicly, torn between grief and anger. Kaylee's father described his daughter as tough, loyal, and fearless. Madison's family clung to memories of her laughter. Ethan's siblings, triplets, spoke of a brother whose absence left an impossible void. Xana's family remember her resilience and bright energy. For the surviving roommates, life was never the same. They faced internet speculation, harassment, and endless questions about why they hadn't called 911 sooner. But police made clear they were victims too, frozen in a nightmare beyond comprehension. Asterisk. In the years that followed, Kohberger fought the charges. His attorneys claimed police rushed the investigation. They argued the DNA evidence could be flawed. But by mid-2025, with overwhelming evidence stacked against him, Bryan Kohberger accepted a plea deal. On July 2nd, 2025, he pled guilty to all 4 murders. He was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without parole, plus additional years for burglary. For the families, it was justice, but not closure. Kohberger never explained why. No motive, no apology, just silence. The Idaho student murders remain one of the most haunting crimes in modern memory, not just because of the brutality, but because of the unanswered questions. A criminology student who should have understood justice instead chose violence. The University of Idaho has since honored the victims with scholarships and memorials, ensuring their names are never forgotten. But the house on King Road, once filled with laughter, has been demolished. An empty space now stands where lives were stolen. What drove Bryan Kohberger to commit such an atrocity? Was it obsession with control? Was it the thrill of outsmarting police? Or something darker? Something we may never understand? As you think about that, let me know in the comments. Do you believe there was more to this story than we know? If you found this case as chilling as I did, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other true crime fans. We have more stories ahead. Stories that remind us of the darkness people are capable of and the strength of those left to carry on. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who look just like us.